Okay everybody, welcome to this new track guide. Today we're in Portimao, or Algarve, and we're in the BMW GTP in the fixed setup. I was going to do IMSA Open, but it's raining, new tyre model, hell no. And Portimao, so absolutely not. So I thought, why not make a fixed lap guide then? I've already ran my teammate through this track, so I have a bit of experience of talking about it, and I've picked up a few pointers and stuff like that, so I should have some good tips for you lined up. So this lap was a 133.535, which is pretty competitive, I would say. If we look on results, hopefully it loads, yes it does. Okay, so top split, 4k RA to 133.5. Let's see, Mario, I have done a 33.3, but yeah. So you're probably looking at the fastest lap in the race in top split, 7k 133.6. So yeah, it's if you set this lap in a race, you're golden. You're going to be up front. Okay, so let's get into it. So we come down the pit straight, and we brake before this white line. It's not a perfect braking marker, but it's a good one. It's good enough, and it's a fast corner. And as you know, I don't really have like massive braking markers for fast corners. I do it more off feel because they change so dynamically lap after the track gets colder, and not the track but the fuel load gets less. So we brake, and it's in third gear, 100% braking. Oop, should run you through the track limit. Okay, so as long as your right wheels on the right are on the curb here, then you're within track limits. As long as you can hear it, you can clearly hear it right now, then you should be golden. So yeah, as long as your wheels are there, could use a little bit more here, but yeah, pretty safe. But this is how much you want to use. So in third gear, and we get as close as possible to the sausage without actually touching it. Okay, next comes the experimentation. So we can take a lot of track limit here. It's the same track limit as last time. As long as your right two wheels on this curb, then you're fine. But the reason why I didn't take it in this lap is because I was experimenting. Is it faster exit if you don't use this curb? And I think it is, just a little bit. And it also helps with the oversteer, and with the new tyres, it's sort of like the GT3s. If you overheat them even the slightest bit, you will pay for it in the next corner. So experiment with this, but I think that it doesn't give you too much time either way, but I would experiment because maybe pole position, a few hundred can be important sometimes. So do experiment. I don't have really what's faster. I would guess that going off and then like using more track limit and then on is faster, but you do lose time, and you can cut it on exit, and you do oversteer, which can affect the next corner, and the next corner is pretty rear limited. Okay, so the next braking zone is, I don't have a good braking marker unfortunately here. I mean, if you look around, there really isn't one. I guess you could use this orange, or you could use the white line there, which is personally what I use. We could even use this red strip I've just noticed when it exits our screen, and we shift down. And here we experiment again. There's two options here. We can either go into first gear or second gear and hold second throughout the whole corner. Or we have three options actually. So first gear, second gear, or we can go into first and then go back into second before we get on the power. The third option, first and then into second, short shifting, seems to be quite nice actually. I think in this lap I just held second gear though, because it's just easier to time, and it's very, very easy to light up the rears after this corner, and you'll see why you don't want to do that. So brake, for me it was second gear, and we can get all the way over to the left as long as our right two wheels on this curb. I tend to go in the middle, so the middle of my car is over the curb, so then when I come back off it, it doesn't disrupt the car balance as much. But you have to be very careful here because it can make you oversteer. So this is where lap time comes in, and just seat time. And it's about being proactive rather than reactive to the car. You have to predict that the car is going to oversteer when it comes off this curb, and then change your braking inputs to compensate for that. And then we get back on the power, and because we're in second gear, you can see here TC lights, they light up on these new hypercars. It's something weird with the tires. I feel like they don't have enough lateral grip, or no, not lateral, but longitudinal grip. I think that they lack in that aspect just a little bit, maybe. Because in Le Mans Ultimate, I mean, we don't know what's right. I can't comment. I'm not a hypercar driver. You're probably not. I'm not. We can't comment, really. I think the devs will know better than us, well, at least you'd hope so. But they do seem very rear limited, these cars. So second gear, and you see the traction control lights light up. So first gear would be even worse, and we don't want to light up the rears for this corner because it's very oversteery. So when we get over the crest, we lift a little bit, so we're never really at 100% throttle at any stage here. We can for like a tiny bit, because you enter a slight compression here, because there's a change in gradient of this hill. So lift, and then the track limit here, as long as your left wheels are on this curb. And then we come down. And the braking marker that I use is either this white line here. We can use this lamppost. I prefer this lamppost just because it's easy to see. So as soon as that starts to exit my screen a little bit, I brake to 100%, and then we shift down into first gear. We can't really use this right hand side curb, unfortunately, because the car becomes really unsettled here. And if you could put the middle of the car, because it seemed like a good idea, there's loads of bumps on the outside here, and it causes you to lock up, which is bad. So first gear and use all the banking. No coast time. Make sure you don't coast here. Okay, then we get back on the throttle. See how early I am on the throttle? Okay, and then we slowly feed the throttle in, modulate it. And interesting thing here, I also told my teammate this, this curb, no, I don't think so. After more testing, no, I don't think it's faster. Because when you run over it, the traction control kicks in, and you're already in TC when you're just on the asphalt, which is the grippiest part of the circuit, right? So when you run over this curb and the car starts bouncing, you get even more TC, and it just ruins the exit. So personally, I don't use this curb. Okay, next braking zone. So I use when this grass turns into red, or we can use the 50 board. It's fair few braking zones. I'm sure you can figure this one out. And then we shift down into fourth, but the interesting thing here, we shift down later into fourth because we use that downshift as a rotation tool, because here we're very front limited. So it's almost like a pendulum. It swings on this track. You're rear limited in one corner, then front limited for rear, front, and it constantly swings. So make sure here that you time your downshift properly. So what I'm talking about is you do that almost mid corner. You can see there the amount of just rotation I gained just from downshifting. Pretty useful. And then we get back on the throttle after the apex, and swing her out nice and wide here. The next braking zone, we could use this white line here. And we go into second. We get all the way over. We get, again, right wheels on this curb is track limits. Holding second gear and just being patient on the throttle. Here I got a little bit, maybe just a slight bit too impatient, partially because I overslowed ever so slightly on corner entry, so I had to compensate on corner exit. And just be really careful here of not trying to smash into your TC too much. And then again, same as the hairpin, don't use this curb. Okay, another interesting little tip here is, you see over this crest, the traction control lights will light back up again. They sort of go off for a sec, and then when you go over the crest, they light back up. So what we can do in an IMSA race or an endurance race, we can lift just a tiny bit, because what's the point? We're anyway in traction control, which cuts the power. So why don't we just lift a little bit, save a little bit of fuel, save the tyres. Very useful tip. On a hot lap though, I didn't do this because there's no point. I mean, you know, you're not really worrying about tyre wear on a hot lap, let's be honest. Okay, next braking zone, we can use this white line, or we can even use this Marshall hook right here. And then we shift down slowly into second gear, using the downshift as a rotation method, and making sure that we don't coast, using the brake as the rotation and not the steering angle. So spot the curb, take a wide entry in, spot the curb, and then get back on the throttle. And same again, don't use this curb. Okay, next braking zone. So, pretty bland here. I guess we could use this orange barrier, we could use the white line there again. And this corner, interesting again, because first of all, it's pretty off camber, ever so slightly. It sort of undulates. It's really, really touchy on the rear. So be very careful when you're in this corner. But I take it in second initially and then shift down into first. Reason, because you slow quite a lot on this corner, and the time period between the next for the following corner is really small, so just getting on power a little bit faster and with more power, you will gain quite a bit of time. So I think first is faster here. So we use the outside, but we do turn in quite early and then we ride the inside curb. And then once we spot our exit, we get back on the throttle, and ideally we want the car to be in the middle of the road once we get spat out. If you're too far over to the right, you've probably done it wrong. If you're too far over to the left, you've overslowed, etc, etc. So just aim for the middle of the track. Okay, and then next braking zone, right here. Grass into red, that's the braking zone. Second gear, and I forgot to mention as well, here we have to be really careful, because if we hit too much into TC, which you can see all our TC lights are on, the car's crying to us, it's like, give me less power. You will overheat the rears, and then the next corner is amazingly tricky when you overheat the rears. So it's very important here just to be patient on the throttle, don't go to 100% too early. So second gear. So maybe a little bit of an overshoot, but we sort of made up for it because we went wide for a second there and then cut back in. So here is quite an interesting thing, because we can coast ever so slightly here. The reason why is because this corner unwinds. It has a decreasing corner radius, as you can see. So coasting can actually be useful here, which is something I never thought I'd say. But yes, you can coast here. So if you are, don't worry. Just don't be excessive with it, but also don't be afraid to do it. Okay, so now next for the last corner, we can't take this flat anymore, which is a bit sad. We can put the right wheels on this right curb. As long as you can hear it, then you're in track limits. If you get that high pitched like curb sound, that means you're on the very edge of track limits and you can't use anymore. It's not a very reliable one, because sometimes you can hear it and you're outside of track limits. So I just tend to use the low rumble on this curve as my track limit indicator. So lift at the crest and then get back on the throttle. Very important not to use too much stone angle here. If you use too much stone angle, you're just going to get diminishing returns, and then you're going to get negative returns of where the car understeers even more. And that was a lap. So let me replay that for you, with me not talking. Okay, that was a lap of Portimao in the GTP. I hope that was of some use to you. It wasn't, I mean, it's not the fastest lap, but it's a pretty good starter. This track is all about experimentation, so just keep experimenting. You know, save those rear tyres. The most limited thing about these new tyre model is the rears, so just save them. Okay, thank you very much for watching.